The World Economic Forum's class of 2024 consists of a group of almost 90 innovators whose groundbreaking work is driving positive change and reshaping the future. They are the newest members of the Young Global Leaders community. This year's cohort is a collection of rising stars from academia, business, civil society, politics, and the arts. One of the South Africans to make it to the list is Mandela Rhodes Chief Executive Officer, Judy Sikuza, and she joins us now to tell us more. Judy, a very good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
A very good morning to you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk about this. I mean, being part of this cohort, what does it mean to be selected to be part of this very unique cohort?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's a deep privilege and an honor for me. And I think it's a platform that really is about an invitation to learn and to grow with a community of people who have been, making some really impactful changes in their sectors. And what I appreciate about what the space is inviting is that it's a diverse group of people, but that there's a mutual alignment of values that all of us effectively want to say, how do we increase the impact and see systemic changes in society?
And I mean, when you look deeper into this and being part of this program, for you, what are some of those issues that are close to you that you feel this platform will allow you to ventilate and share with the world?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the work we do as the Mandela Rhodes Foundation is really thinking deeply about ethical-based leadership, drawing on Nelson Mandela. So I think for me, I'd love to be able to use this platform to say, how do I connect and collaborate with people who are interested in principle-centered leadership, right? And to not just think about power as a source of self-fulfillment, but that actually the responsibility that we have to really call yourself a leader. You have to be able to say you're using that power towards bringing people together and creating and seeing that shift in society. So I think it's about, spreading Nelson Mandela's values that see leadership as the responsibility of building bridges across divides and always seeking the third way. So I'd love to be able to use that platform to connect with people who want to drive that sort of agenda around leadership.
One of the biggest themes, or at least ambitions of this movement is to have leaders that work together to improve the status of the world. I mean, to your point of leadership, because at the end of it all, anything else that is done in the world depends on the kind of leaders that we have. I mean, how big a challenge do you think it is to actually get to the core of finding those ethical leadership or leaders that are able to drive the world in the right direction?
Yeah. Well, I actually think there's a lot more of us out there than we believe. So I think part of the fundamental problem right now is that a lot of people who are currently in power and are holding on to that power are the examples that we get to see in the world. So I think for me, platforms like this Young Global Leaders is trying to actually show us that, no, this next generation of young people is dedicated to actually leading in an ethical way, in a courageous way, in ways in which we seek multi-stakeholder ways of being, in ways in which we think about systems thinking, and realizing that the problems we're facing are pretty complex. And what that requires is actually a way of being that needs to be quite different. How do we learn to listen to each other? How do we learn to really seek understanding? And for me to really say, do I really understand this person's perspective? Because only from that place of deep empathy and deep consideration of the complex issues, that's where the creative possibility of innovation emerges. And actually we can find solutions that no one individual would have thought about when we draw on the strengths of our diversity.
And I mean, on that point, I mean, if you look at some of the members that have been selected in the class of 2024, it's quite diverse. I mean, touches on issues of politics, but also goes beyond just politics. And for you, what does that mean to actually be in the same group of people that has different views, but in different spheres and aspects of society and life, as it were?
For me, it's fantastic. I mean, it's like, it's a dream because that's what I get to do at the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship Program, but we do it with young people who are between 19 and 29. The power of being able to have someone in a room who is doing something in a completely different field is that it actually invites you to explore new worlds. And I think the ability to be open to actually listening and hearing different perspectives is a skill that a lot of us are not taught. I mean, when you think about it, if you think about the education system that we grew up in, do you remember being taught about listening? And yet it's actually, that's the most crucial thing when you are sitting with a diverse group of people is, can you really listen? Not listen to respond, but really listen to understand, So I'm excited because I think you can learn a lot from a musician, and they can talk about the creative process, and what that means for them. A sports person can talk to you about, performance anxiety, match day, temperament, and how that plays out in leadership. So I think I'm really, really excited about meeting the group. And I know that we're going to learn from each other because we all have had a lot of similar experiences in leading at quite a young age. And I think that also comes with some of its challenges, because we have to overcome some biases and expectations around ourselves. And I think I've seen it even in my own journey. I've had to do the inner work of continuing to remind myself that I'm actually enough and that I bring value even though I'm a young person, because I've often found myself in rooms where I was really like the youngest by decades. And it's really about saying, but, how do I trust in my value set, in my skills and what I bring? And the reason why I was elected as CEO of the Mandela Legacy Organization at a young age, I was 33 when I was appointed, was because they saw something in me, and how do you sort of trust yourself in that? And I think also we're a young continent, 70% of the continent is under the age of 30. So actually it makes sense that we should be now leading, we should be stepping up as this generation and being bold in the changes that we want to see in our spaces.
Judy, just on that, as we wind up the conversation, there's all this argument or conversation about is Africa ready for young leaders in all aspects, from leadership. Just Senegal just had a young leader now, and quite many people are saying that, is he ready? Does he have the experience? But you feel that Africa, the continent, maybe the world at large, is ready for young leaders, to listen to young leaders, because there's also this perception that they're just kids. What do they know?
Yeah, exactly. No, I am a fundamental believer that young people absolutely are ready to lead. And I think it's about how do we then create programs and opportunities to capacitate them, right, with the right skills. Because even when I look at the work we do as Mandela Rhodes, we find these brilliant young people who are talented in the different sectors, and then say, let's give you postgraduate funding so that you're able to, elevate the expertise. But most crucially, it's the leadership development program that we take them through. How do they actually do the inner work of, the inner healing of the journeys that we've all gone through as young people? Actually, young Africans have seen a lot of disparities and have traveled a lot of tough roads ahead. So actually some of the work that we do in the leadership program is to say, how do we create space for inner healing so that when they do go out into the world, they actually feel confident, they feel they're able to draw on their skills and expertise in a more meaningful way. So I think young people are ready. Let's capacitate them. Let's give them the space to find their authentic voices and to really believe in themselves. And I think we need to build programs that equip these young people to manage complexity, because that's the thing. We're facing a lot of complexity in our continent. And how do they draw on that Mandela-esque type of way of being, which is building bridges across divides, finding the third way, and have that determination to see social justice in our lifetime.
Right, Judy, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. And once again, congratulations on selected to be part of that unique and very powerful panel of 90 change makers.